Tell us then, David, about what we know about Meg O'Neill and what she's achieved at Woodside.
Morning. Well, yeah, Meg O'Neill may be an unfamiliar name to people in Europe, to many in the market in London and those around BP, but she's an incredibly well-known figure in Asia and particularly in Australia. Now, a really experienced veteran fossil fuels executive, 20 plus years at Exxon, and a real focus on engineering and operations. She became the CEO of Woodside, Australia's biggest oil and gas company, in 2021, and since then her tenure's really been marked by, operational excellence and ambition. She led a multi-billion acquisition of oil and gas assets from BHP. She even launched a pretty audacious attempt to acquire the biggest Australian rival, ultimately walking away when the deal didn't represent value. But what we've seen is that combination of a really steady hand, somewhat ambitious, and also a really trenchant defender of the role of fossil fuels, consistently talking about the fact that oil, and particularly natural gas, in her view, likely to be needed for many, many decades to come.
OK, in the face of the climate crisis, of course. What is going to be top of her in tray then, David, when she takes the helm at BP?
Yeah, quite well. I mean, I know the announcement itself may have been something of a surprise, but I think as investors and others look at Meg O'Neill's track record, they'll see the logic here for BP. If this is a company that is aiming to really reset strategy, to accelerate those plans to return to its roots, to get back a focus on natural gas, on oil, having sort of stepped away from that pivot under Bernard Looney towards renewables, you can see why Meg O'Neill is appealing. As I said, she's very focused on the role of fossil fuels, and she's proven herself very good at getting more out of existing assets and really thinking carefully about where to add new assets. She's also someone who's done a lot in a short space of time as the Woodside CEO, and if BP and investors like Elliott, if their complaint is that strategy isn't moving fast enough, then perhaps that's why O'Neill is a good fit.